Carrie Smalley from Wyndham. I'd like to start off with a moment of silence for those involved in Monday's Tennessee school shootings.
Thank you.
I'll start off by addressing a comment that was made during last week's meeting. A young woman came up and spoke and referenced the book and Netflix series, 13 Reasons Why, and turned to an audience member and said, quote, "You could be their 13th reason." This is inappropriate and manipulative, and you as a board are being put on notice that the mental health crisis that we are facing in this community goes much deeper than these explicit, sexual, suicidal, self-harming content could ever justify. Start placing counselors, therapists, support, aid, proper services with this budget instead of filling our libraries with material that depicts the sexual exploitation of minors, as it is clear that these students are crying for help. Instead of coddling these students and clapping, start supporting them by getting them the unbiased, professional, and psychological help that they need. Thank you.
Courtney Edwards, Wyndham. I want you to see something that proves how much I love you. This is only for you, Kaylee girl. He lifted his 7-year-old daughter and sat her down on the bedside beside him. Then he opened the snaps of his flannel pajamas. It stood up like stiff as stalagmite. See how much Daddy loves you? Show me how much you love me too. Touch it. He closed her hand around it. I know it sounded bad, but I wanted to touch it too. That was her sister watching. I didn't know what it meant, only that it made Daddy happy. I wanted to make Daddy happy too. That's right, his voice rocked in rhythm with his body. Oh yes, my Kaylee girl loves me, my little flower. When Daddy finished, he burrowed his face into Kaylee's hair and he wept, confused at his tears and at the sticky stuff icing her hands. Still, Kaylee pleaded, "Don't cry, Daddy, what's the matter? Didn't I love you good enough?" Yes, you loved me good enough, so very good. But it's our little secret, okay? Kaylee aroused at his words. Come into the moment secure in the aura of Daddy's love. She tried to sit up, but Daddy pushed her gently back down against the mattress. Stay just like that for Daddy. I want to teach you something new. He lifted her nightgown, rolled it up over her belly, and coaxed her thoroughbred legs apart. She squirmed at partly protesting. Don't move, Daddy's scarlet face underlined his commands. I thought he might smack her, but as quickly as his anger flared, it disappeared. Don't be afraid, this won't hurt. You'll like it, I promise. He kissed her length of her torso down to the small naked V. It was only his mouth that night. He didn't even ask her to touch him to prove how much she loved him. Afterwards, she worried. Didn't he want her love anymore? What had she done wrong? And yet he had taught her something new, something awful, worse, something wonderful, something every little girl should know to enjoy. Now, if this is identical, Adam read a segment of it during March 1st's meeting. Now, if anything is happening to anyone in this room or someone you know in this school or outside of this school, you take it to a police officer or a trusted adult. What you do not do is fill your libraries with this incest sick shit.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. I hope you all are doing well. My name is Amelia Greslick. I'm a sophomore at Wyndham High School, and I hope to be a voice to those who are unable to speak about what is happening. I would like to thank our library staff and our teachers for constantly encouraging our exploration and learning using literature and providing resources for us to learn and supporting us through all we go through. I strongly believe that as teenagers we are exploring ourselves, we are exploring our bodies, we are exploring our sexuality, we are exploring our future career options, we are exploring the world, we are exploring what is right and what is wrong and everything in it so that we have some idea of how to be adults, and some of us only have little time left until adulthood. We are high schoolers. There's an expected maturity that comes with that. We are young adults. Some of us that go to Wyndham High School are legal adults. So why is it that we have lost all say in what we can and cannot consume in literature? Is it because these books are too mature? Because we talk about far more mature topics amongst peers. We hear far more mature topics every day. Has your child ever watched TV or seen the news or read the papers? There are definitely some mature topics in there. Because it's pornography? Because the majority of adults have far more access to far more forms of pornography. Not because it's LGBTQ+IA though, because that would be homophobic and transphobic. So why are you taking away these books? Because some people don't want their child to read it. To some people, this library is the only way that they can learn about the world through literature, and taking away someone's exploration for purely selfish adolescent ideologies about being the most important person in the room and the rest of the world revolving around you is not okay. You are taking away learning and exploration from other young adults is absolutely unacceptable. If you don't like it, don't read it. If you don't want your child to read it, don't let them read it. But it is not okay to control the way others live their life. Please leave them alone, and please be kinder towards others. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kevin Day. I'm a resident of Wyndham. I have two questions. The first is directed to Mr. Howell. In the 2018-19 school year in the state of Maine, 44% of our state students did not meet the requirements for English or for reading. 67% of the students in the state of Maine did not meet the state's minimum level for math, and that was pre-COVID. Since then, we all know that test scores have gotten worse. They've gotten so bad that the teachers union in the state of Maine has worked with the Mills administration to make it even more difficult for parents to see the test scores. They're afraid that these scores will be used to hold teachers accountable. My question is, this month in an interview, the Maine Education Commissioner, Pender Macon, was quoted saying, "Academic learning is definitely going to take a backseat to social, emotional, gender, and race-based learning." Given that RSU14 test scores in reading, math, and science have tanked over the last 3 years, do you agree with Ms. Macon's statement, and will traditional learning take a backseat here in RSU14? My second question is directed at the members of the board. This week we saw the 4th mass school shooting involving a radicalized member of the LGBTQ+ community. Over the past few years, this school board has put an emphasis on social and emotional learning, specifically gender and sexual identity in schools. As board members, do you see a correlation between the focus on gender and sexualization of our children and the increased violence in our schools? On that same note, do you see a correlation between this emphasis and the increase in teen suicide? If the correlation cannot be made between these two items, would you concede that a correlation also cannot be proven, that the focus on social emotional learning helps students avoid detrimental negative social outcomes? Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Frank Emery. I live in Raymond, but I'm one of the few that's fortunate enough to pay taxes both to Raymond and Wyndham, so I pretty much cover RSU. But it saddens me to realize that instead of instructional information in our library, that I'm paying for pornography, which I thought was illegal to teach and bring to children.
Maria Clark, Wyndham. I'd like to talk about the book challenges and the IJJ policy. So far, since January 24th of this year, I have put in 7 book challenges. Although I've not met with the librarian on all 7 of those books, 2 of them I'm going to discuss in a meeting with her tomorrow. The ones that I have had meetings on seem to be dragging. Only one, genderqueer, has come through a review committee. Nick and Charlie is now being discussed in a review committee. I met with the librarian on Monday, March 23rd, about a book I'm challenging, the same one that was read in the beginning of the meeting today. That book is identical. Still no committee, but Mr. Howell did send me an email tonight telling me that the copies of the books for the review committee have not come in yet. I want to know why this is happening. All of the citizens, the grandparents, and the parents who have made these challenges want to know. We want to know why this is taking such a long time. Let's talk about the review committee for a minute. Mr. Howell has to appoint a review committee to assess the book in question. It states in number 4 of IJJ that the committee members should remain neutral toward the viewpoint expressed in the materials. Yet, some of these committee members that you've chosen, Mr. Howell, have social media posts showing their bias in a number of ways, such as photos, posts favoring the very things that couldn't possibly have them remain neutral in any decision regarding the material in question. Lastly, the meetings with the librarian. They're fun. I did not like the fact that during my last meeting, the librarian told me that I was cherry-picking portions of the book I'm challenging. They also told me that they find it hard to have a conversation with people about the books who haven't read the books in their entirety. And we can't have educated conversations about the books if we don't read the books. Well, excuse me, who's calling the kettle black here? Both the librarians that I met with have admitted that they had not read the books prior to the challenges. Well, I just want to remind you that no district policy, no district employee has the right to define my method of forming an opinion. I don't need to prove the burden of proof to show my concern about vulgarity and obscenity when it comes to wanting to protect my grandkids. Policy IJJ is riddled with holes. Superintendent has made many points.
Thank you very much. Welcome.
Kristen Day, Wyndham. The way this administration is handled, the community concern about library content and book challenges is terrible. All connection to decency, ethics, sanity, and reality have been checked at the door. So anyone who will die on the hill of making all pornographic and depraved content available in school libraries for ages 11 up will be happy to know that this district has your back. You're reviewing IJJ because it's admittedly inadequate, yet we're still being led through hoop after hoop to follow it, except when it suits administration, which turned step 1, a discussion with the librarian, into a district-wide staff meeting. Then the review committee, which is supposed to be generally neutral but wasn't, is expected to form an opinion based on the whole book, not cherry-picking passages or images showing pussy eating, underage drinking, porn culture, sex with animals, or other depraved content that, of course, we are guaranteed the kids would never cherry-pick. There's more, but the whole thing is a total and utter shit show. And we have been strung along, lied to, lied about, and all for what? So that certain adults can get the most depraved materials in front of the youngest kids possible? The people running things and those who back them up without discernment have lost their minds. The false flag this is book banning or hateful or are being pushed to distract from the school's departure from what used to be common sense decency, protecting the innocence of children, promoting their self-empowerment, not their safety within some label or social group membership. The review committee's decision letter on genderqueer was honestly a giant middle finger. Not because they kept the material, but because it is purposefully generic and relies solely on the perceived value of diversity and inclusion to some children's success. It does not acknowledge or respond to the concern: obscene materials in our school libraries. It is therefore an incomplete and an inadequate review, and a non-starter for the book review process to be in any way productive moving forward. One justification given was regarding accessibility. It actually said that kids with difficulty reading can gain from looking at the pictures in this book. How is that, considering the book as a whole, which we've been told we have to do? Then the policy asks for passages and page numbers. So I wrote a 16-page book challenge, including images, text, and read the book in full and qualified the social benefits of the book that it had for me as an adult. My review was examined, it said, yet not one of my concerns was even acknowledged. Evidence required for me, but not for thee. Yeah, this review committee was a full kangaroo court. I will appeal with the same attention I gave to my complaint and hope that this board gives it just treatment where the committee did not.
Anybody else wish to speak?
Danny Davis, Wyndham, Maine. Integrity, what is it? It's the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles or ethics. Having integrity means doing the right thing in a reliable way. It is a personality trait that we admire, since it means a person having a moral compass that doesn't waver. It literally means having wholeness of character. In 2016, a high school principal recommended a football player for a prestigious athletic award weeks after learning the student had been accused in 2 cases of child gross sexual assault, one under 8 and one under 4 years of age. Police notified school administrators of the charges. About 5 weeks later, that student was recommended for the award by the principal, along with the coach. The award is presented to linemen who are considered positive role models and display integrity, honesty, and athletic citizenship. The principal said he was aware of the charges when he wrote the letter of recommendation for the student to receive the award. When questioned, he said, "It's up to the court system to decide if the student is guilty." The student received the award and the $1,000. Not all members on the award committee were told about the charges. One member said, "We should have known. We should have been made aware, and I'm very upset." In the courtroom, the mother of the 2 children said, "When my daughter has a hard time sleeping and she has anxiety, that's your fault. As a parent, one of your worst nightmares is someone harming your child. Our lives are forever changed." Could you imagine the anger and helplessness the parents felt when the system was played to have the player receive an award for being an exemplary citizen? The high school was Wyndham, and the principal was our current superintendent. What is your justification for this? I know you won't answer, but we all want to know. So now we know the award committee, he withheld information about a convicted rapist, which resulted in the assailant getting a scholarship.
I think we're going down a road
It's clear
that's
when you
not
look.
appropriate.
It's clear when you look at who he
We're talking
appointed to this
personnel
current
now.
committee that he appointed
I'm
a
sorry.
biased committee. The policy
CJ.
states the committee.
Thank you. We're going to take a recess. Okay. Who else?
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Ashlyn Cuthbert, and I am an 8th grader at Wyndham Middle School. there have been several comments from community members that they are not trying to target or hurt students. In fact, there have been many comments stating that they are trying to protect these students. To show you that this is not what's happening, here is a reading from a text message that I received after last week's meeting. Quote, "I am done with the stuff and the fact that they are targeting kids with autism. I have autism and now I feel embarrassed. I am done with this and I'm not going again. I will keep supporting you," and blank, the name of another student, "but I am just scared to go. Thank you for being one of the people that I trust." End quote. Shortly after I received this message, I called this person to follow up, and they stated that they were not only afraid for their family members based on comments made by community members, but as well as for their own safety at school the next day. This 7th grade student is, and I quote, "scared to death." This is the real impact on the students the community is trying to protect. Students are being attacked because of a book that is optional to read, and in the process, feel physically threatened. If community members want to do what's best for all students, I suggest not being belligerent toward them and the people that they look up to. There are policies in place so that parents or guardians can restrict their own child from reading a book. By all means, please feel free to go through these channels. However, standing up here attacking books, students, teachers, librarians, principals, superintendents, and school board members is absolutely not the answer. I have gone to the last 4 school board meetings, including this one, and have spoken each time. What I have testified is not just my own personal opinion, but is the opinion of many students who are too afraid to speak. And if I don't stand up for them, who is? I am honored to be that person for these students. However, I am both saddened and disappointed by our community for being the reason that they are fearful. Members of the board, I hope that the main group of people you are listening to are your students, because in the end, those are the people your decision is affecting. Not parents, not community members, but students. Thank you
very much.
10 o'clock window. We have said over and over again, we are not against gay people, homosexuality, anything along those lines. What we are against is sexuality, a sexually explicit manner being distributed to minors. You folks are children. We all were at one time. This material, like Camel advertised cigarettes with a cartoon character, and vaping companies have bubblegum flavor to get kids addicted. Porn is addictive, and these images are harmful to students. And it's probably hard to hear it, but you've got to talk and listen to the experts who know more about this field than a librarian by far. The educators are not educated on this subject. It is clear, so clear. If you do have information that supports porn for kids, please show us. I haven't seen it. I asked the school board to do that, and you refused to answer my question. I got them right here. Did not answer 5 questions, which I'm going to get to. I always get off track on my speech a little bit because I just got to have you folks understand that it's not healthy to have porn. You say we're against gay people. I met 2 very special people the last couple of weeks, David Arthur and Ivy, okay? David went through a complete transgender transition, came back again. In this book, if you read it, it's heartful, scary at times, but it gives what this path can lead you down, and I just want to read an excerpt from it. You can be same-sex attracted and not be part of the transgender movement. You can be in a loving, pure, intimate, romantic relationship complementary with someone of the same sex, but not be a part of the LGBT movement. This movement has pridefully and shamefully bamboozled millions of people to believe otherwise. Many are guilty into partaking of this movement that have a sad place to be. Being same-sex attracted is not a cause, nor is it something that needs to be marched for or pridefully embarked on like some after-school program. The LGBT movement is a deceptive, dangerous, and turning truth that the same-sex individuals exist into some type of charade or in front of a much darker movement coming very soon, the pedophile movement. Those whole transgenderism nonsense is targeting, preying and devouring our youth, trying to make the rights of children above their own parents. If your 8-year-old child can take puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones and choose their own gender without the consent or knowledge of a parent or by a counselor that is not educated in the field by any means, or they will soon be able to choose their own sex partner regardless of that person's age. Yes, that's what's coming, and it is coming quicker than you think. It's here. You literally had that poster I've held up a bunch of times that my child can go talk to a counselor, has no education on sexual transitioning, whatever
Thank you,
else you want to
sir.
call it.
Your time is
I'm going to read
concluded.
the questions that I
I'm
no.
sorry.
Listen, you say you answer
I'm sorry.
questions.
CJ, would you shut down the mic, please? Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. If we are to proceed with this, I respectfully request that there is decorum and etiquette maintained. This is not the time for cross conversations, excuse me, or debates. If this continues, I will terminate public comment. CJ.
Hello. Hi. My name is Julie Clifford, and I'm a resident of Wyndham. Based on what you just said, I'm going to skip some of what I wrote, and I'm going to get to what's really most important to me. My great-grandparents are the founders of a private school in Portland. My great-grandmother was 101 years old when she passed away, and she was full of wisdom. When asked what the essence of her school was, she didn't hesitate, and with her one-word response, she affirmed love. That's what it begins with. Everything else grows from there. I have rode the middle of the line of this topic for weeks. But like my great-grandmother, I will always choose love. To the board, I have previously asked that you remove the books in question. But after much reflection and wrestling with my own heart, I would ask that you consider the entire student body. The whole body, not just one extremity, but all of the students. Thank you.
Evening, Louis Willett, Wyndham, parent of first grader, and on a lighter note, trying to end this debate one way or the other. The students from the elementary schools and up through the middle school, I don't know if the high school has a team, participated in the Odyssey of the Mind tournament at Noble High School down in North Berwick. Now, being one of the coaches for primary team, as far as what I saw with the dinosaur presentations that our kindergarten, first, and second graders presented, they had a blast. And literally, there is nothing more that was at the tournament other than the kids enjoying presenting what they have put time, effort, and energy into producing to display their talents. So I encourage all here to keep that in mind when you're attacking or debating these topics, that we're all here because we all feel a strong sense of support for our students and for the staff. And they are tasked with the immeasurably hard job of preparing these students upon graduation, entering a world where there are varied opinions, there are different viewpoints. And that's one thing I instilled in my team, was always look at a problem from a different perspective. Thank you.
I'm sorry. We're not allowing people sitting on the stage. Thank you. Oh, I didn't notice. Sorry. I didn't notice you up there. I'm sorry. You were sitting on the stairs. Yes. No. Public comment has concluded. Thank you very much.